Hey everyone, welcome back to Reading with Tatiana. Today I'm reviewing The Do-Over by Bethany Turner, and I do want to say my rating is due to because I'm not a huge romance reader, so I would give it a 2 out of 5. My Booktuber shout today goes out to Magnify Faith. I came across the channel because she did a review of The Do-Over as well, and I was surprised to learn that this book is considered a clean romance or a good Christian read because there isn't any smuttiness in the book, so I thought that was interesting. So if you want to check out Magnify Faith's channel, I'll link it down below. And as always, before I go into my full book review, I'll always appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have read this book or have any romance recommendations for me, I would love to hear them down below. The Do-Over by Bethany Turner was published in 2022, so this year. And as I said before, the genre is romance. It's contemporary, set in modern times, and specifically is also considered a clean romance. A bit about the author Bethany Turner. One thing that I actually learned to appreciate more about this book is at the end of it, she has an acknowledgement section, and she said that this book, The Do-Over, is her pandemic book, and a lot of the struggles that she went through internally during pandemic, which I think we all went through, having a lot of indecisiveness, not knowing what's going to happen, that kind of stuff. She really channeled through the protagonist McKenna. So learning that part of her writing, journey was really cool to unravel. I also want to say that Bethany has a great author website. As I said before, in a previous review, I find sometimes like author websites are kind of dry. It just lists like the things they've written and like the accomplishments or awards they've done. But Bethany Turner has a great website because it's clear that she did it herself, and she also does a lot of like personal anecdotes and facts about her, which I really enjoyed. So she says that she's born at the end of the 70s, but she's really an 80s baby. She met her husband in a chat room in the 90s. She has 2 kids, and she also walked away from a career in bank management in 2014, and she started writing. So yeah, if you want to check out her site, just Google her name. I thought it was really cool. I'll start with the premise of the book. So this is a romantic story. So we meet McKenna, who is a lawyer at a pretty well-renowned firm in New York City, and she is on track to be a partner at the firm. One day she goes into office believing she's doing a presentation to sell herself to become like a partner, but it turns out that she is being accused of embezzlement for $300,000, which is a lot of change. So basically she's shocked and she's embarrassed, and she's taken leave from work while they investigate her embezzlement in the firm. And she goes to her hometown in Durham, which I believe is like North Carolina or something like that. And basically it's her first time home in 3 years, and she's just there in time for her younger sister's engagement party, and also she stays for the wedding. So while she's back, she spends time with family that she's kind of become like not estranged to, but she hasn't really kept in touch with as much because she's like in New York City, working her career. And of course, while she's in her hometown, she's reunited with a high school friend where they had no connection in high school except for being friends. And of course now, 20 years later, McKenna is 38. It turns out that he's a big-time documentarian. And I don't want to do any spoilers, but you can kind of guess what happens between McKenna and this high school friend who's called Henry. So I just want to talk about the main characters that I thought were interesting. So there's McKenna, and she has 2 sisters. One's older, Erica, and I think only a year or 2 apart, and they're super close. And then there's also Taylor, who's quite a bit younger. And McKenna has a bit of like ill will towards her younger sister because there's a huge age gap, and also because when her younger sister was born, it forced her whole family to leave New York to go to a more affordable state. So she has some resentment for Taylor. And then also there are the parents, obviously, and then it's also Henry, who is the love interest or documentarian. Now I'll share the common themes in the book. So even though this is a romance, there were some themes I enjoy, and the first one is, as I kind of mentioned earlier, of McKenna's resentment towards her younger sister Taylor, is how the author does a really good job showing the importance of family, and how sometimes there's misunderstandings and resentment can grow over time, but family is family. And it's really cool to see McKenna bridge those gaps after being away for 3 years. Also, other common theme, as you can probably guess, is she is a big time lawyer in New York City, is that she is so career focused that she forgets to fall in love or pursue love. Not that everyone has to fall in love, it's totally fine if you're comfortable being by yourself, but clearly this is a romance novel, so clearly she wants to be in love, but she never let herself be open to it because she is very logical. And then the other thing is the idea of being true to yourself, which McKenna I think struggles with, was kind of like a big arch in the plot. But in the end, she decides to be true to herself. So those were the common themes. As I gave this book a 2, there were several things I didn't like. So the first thing is, even though I don't like reading romance normally, and I usually give them kind of low ratings, I do enjoy them once in a while because it kind of breaks my reading habit, and it's just like an easy read. But this one, it wasn't an easy read. For me, parts of the book felt like it dragged. I was like, okay, I kind of get what they're leading up to. Let's get on to it. And it felt like it fleshed too many details that I didn't need to read. And another thing I didn't like was the protagonist, McKenna. I felt she was the worst character in the book, and she was so indecisive. She was kind of like a jerk, to be honest, because it comes out later in the book that it's only an hour flight from New York City to her hometown, but she didn't see her family for 3 years. And I don't care how busy you are in your career, I think you can make time to see your family if it's an hour flight. And interestingly enough, this is one of the few romance where I hated the protagonist, but actually loved the love interest Henry, and I think Henry deserves better than McKenna. But of course, there are always things you can find to like in any work. So things I like was I really enjoyed the personalities of the two sisters, Taylor and Erica. I also really enjoy Henry, the love interest. And like I said, all these side characters were way better for me to read than the protagonist, McKenna. I also really like the plot of the book. I do find that this plot and the action that happens in the book, I would really enjoy as an easy watching movie. I guess maybe book isn't the right format. So Bethany Turner, if you're watching my review by any chance, you should try to do a movie adaptation of this book because I think it has a lot of room for humor and comedy, and it'd be a great romantic comedy. On Goodreads, this book got an average of 3.74 out of 5. So reasons why people didn't like it was they didn't like McKenna, very similar to me. They felt there were too many side characters and they didn't have time to develop. That I can kind of agree with. There were lots of characters, but the ones I mentioned earlier, Taylor, Erica, and Henry, I thought were great, and I thought they were maybe not fully developed, but they were fine in the story. Reasons why people enjoyed this book was they thought it was cute, they thought it was charming, there were moments of comedy in it, and I think it's a great rainy day read, which I can agree with. I mean, if you want an easy romantic comedy to read, this is it. And I think a lot of people also on Goodreads identify with a strong, driven, ambitious career woman in New York City. Why I think you should read this book. You should read it if you love a good classic contemporary romance, especially the story arc of people reconnecting from people in their past. Now I'll share how this book made me feel, because I always like to ask how a book made someone feel. Because if you ask me a week, a year, 5 years from now, I probably won't remember exactly what a book was about, but I'll always remember how it made me feel. So when this book finished, even though I gave it a 2 out of 5, at the end, it still made me feel warm. I'm happy for McKenna, I'm happy for her family and her reconnecting and reuniting, and for her changing her priorities in life. Thank you for watching until the end of my video for the review of The Do-Over by Bethany Turner. If you read this book, I'd love to hear what you thought down below. And if you want to join me next time, I just started this memoir called Dying by Cory Taylor. I'm not going to tell you too much about it because I feel like I have a lot to say, which I'll leave for my full review next time. Alright, bye guys.